Street.
Did that work? I don't think the mics were on there. It sounds like they might be on now. Yeah, I can hear it.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Sorry about that.
We're good.
Do we have any comments on the permit application? We have a signed permit application.
Yeah, so there's the signed permit application as well as the certificate of appropriateness for the front facade on the Fricano's building there.
Well, if nobody else will give a comment, I will comment. We have never approved a lighted projecting sign. There is only one on River Street now, and that's the Elks. And that Elks sign has been there longer than I can remember. The only other lighted sign for a business that I'm aware of is the Blue Fish, and that's sort of a backlit sign which is flat on the building.
Is there a reason why we haven't approved projecting lit signs previously?
It's actually not in the,
I don't believe they're allowed
yeah,
Okay.
in the historic district.
that would be an exception if we allowed one.
That's good to know. Thank you.
You notice they have a sign on the river side of the building as well, but that's a flat sign. It would be lighted.
Is that gonna be an internal lit sign, do you know?
It looks like it from the picture. That's all the information I had on that. I don't think I saw the application saying otherwise.
You have anything lit on the river now, on the riverside now? Nothing,
Not that I'm aware of.
The Bluefish does have a lit sign, that they did at one point in time facing the river.
They did?
Yeah,
Okay.
similar to what was on the front of the building, it was on the back of the building.
Makes sense.
I personally, I don't have any issues with a lit sign on the backside of the building.
is this sign going to be lit 24 hours or just when it's open?
That would be a great question for the applicant.
Yeah, I'm not excited about having a light lit 24 hours back there. Don't think I'd have a problem with it lit during business hours, but I think we don't want to go down, I don't want to go that bad.
Do we have anybody who's willing to suggest an action?
I move we table this until we have someone from Fricano's here to explain the, not just the sign, but the the presentation we have of it is this brick or what is this, you know? It's all we have, right?
Right.
We have a motion to table this until someone from Fricano's can explain more clearly.
Lighting details and materials and colors is what you guys are, just for note's sake, that's what you're after, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And details on the sign as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to table this and ask Fricano's to come in provide more information. We should probably also point out that a lit projected sign is not allowed. Any more comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the other thing would be the facade of Fricano's, which you have a picture of or a drawing of. Not an awful lot different than what there is now.
Wasn't that included in the previous motion, when they had to come back?
I meant to include.
It was part of this.
I meant to include it in the
It
previous.
wasn't-
You meant to include that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of this.
I thought you'd had it down as part of it.
It was part of it.
I
All right.
covered it.
All right, then. I guess we could go on to 141 Washington Street.
I believe we've got Cody here to answer any questions you guys might have. Or even maybe just give an overview of the project.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on this lovely day. The project we have today is 141 Washington Street. I'm Cody Newman. I'm a Driven Design. We're an architecture firm out of Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm here representing the owner, Kevin Schaefer. The building right now, 141 Washington Street, is currently vacant. There's one Airbnb unit, but other than that, the building is 99% vacant at this point. There's a gravel lot directly to the south of the building. The building runs north to south there, and then grass behind it. At this time, the project proposal is to add 15 apartments, all one-bedroom apartments. There'd be 10 on the upper level and 5 on the first floor there. It's a 2-story building. And then add a commercial tenant on the first floor. He doesn't know who the commercial tenant is at this time. He's targeting a grocery. That's his ideal tenant for that, is like a micro grocery, not like a Meijer by any means, but like a small market that would go into that space, as that's something we feel would be essential to the neighborhood there. The facade of the building, as you can see on the T000 sheet, that's the first sheet. There's a towards the bottom center is a historic photo of the building. We're looking to take the building back to its historic state with this project. Right now there is a mansard roof that extends over the front entryways, and a lot of the glass that was once in the front facade has been blocked in. With this project, we would expand the glass back to its original stance. We would remove the paint. The whole building has been painted. As you all probably know, it's not a good idea to paint brick. It traps the moisture in and eats away at the face. So we plan to strip the paint off of the building back to the original state there. Tuck point the existing masonry of the building. And then bring the facade back to where it was historically.
So the materials will stay the same?
Correct. Yep, masonry. The largest changes on the south face of the building, right where the gravel parking lot is, we will have a small addition for an elevator. That is something that we're adding more as a convenience for the tenants. And the elevator shaft would be of material similar to the building. Another thing to note with this project is going to go for federal historic tax credits and potentially state historic tax credits. So we have also submitted this project to the State Historic Preservation Office, and then they submit that to the National Park Service for final approval as well.
So they,
Okay. You said the elevator structure here is going to be of similar material as the rest of the building. Looks pretty bland here. Just wondered what.
So it's probably going to be a block, but it's going to be similar to like a slightly different color than you don't want to have it be exactly the same under the Secretary of Interior standards. We wanted to have that be slightly different. So we were proposing like a darker block, essentially, just to kind of denote that, hey, this is an addition, this isn't a historic piece of the building, but yet still similar.
so it's gonna be masonry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is the way it appears in this sample here, is that roughly what it's going to look like?
Yeah. Yep. Essentially. So just be a darker block. Yep.
I looked at your bigger picture over at the planning office, and when I look at this to me, when it caught my eye, instead of looking like cleaned up old block, it looked like brand new, completely redone. How are you gonna pull that off? That stuff is pretty grungy.
You mean the brick on the outside?
Yeah.
So what we've done this on a lot of historic building. Our firm specializes in historic preservation. My wife and I have a development company in Battle Creek as well. So we've done several buildings similar to this. Peel away, it's paste essentially. It gets applied to the face of the building. So it comes in 5-gallon buckets. They paste it on. They put a film over it. You let it sit for, in nice weather in the summer here, you let it sit for about a week, and then it just power washes off and it pulls it out. The nice thing is too, with the material in the peel away, it actually absorbs the paint, so like lead or anything like that, there's no safety hazards with that. And then that basically is the remediation process.
So then it goes right back to the original brick.
Yep, and then at that point, then we're gonna have to tuck point, because I'm sure because of the moisture that's been trapped behind there, there's gonna be a lot of tuck pointing, and we always match the color that was there historically, so.
That's what I was wondering, because I've blasted old buildings before, and the pointing job was way worse than the cleaning.
Yes, and we don't ever recommend sandblasting or anything that's, because it eats the face of the brick too.
Yeah.
Brick's like a sponge, and if you blast that, it just destroys it. So this is the least intrusive way. And again, since this is going through the tax credit process, the state and federal level has to review this too, and that's one of the only methods that they allow to make that happen. You absolutely can't sandblast it.
Okay. I'd just say that if you pull this off and it looks this good, I'd be impressed.
I think I only have one comment, and that would be, there's some detail above the windows right here.
Mm-hmm.
And what you've done is just sort of flat like that.
We are working to try to replicate it. The hardest thing we have is we only have that image right there. So we're trying to, you don't want to fake history, obviously. If we can get it replicated, we're working with a handful of woodworkers to see if that's an option. We do it. If not, we'll just have kind of a freeze band with that little trim piece on top. But we are going to do our best to replicate that the best we can.
The only other issue I would say would be maybe the signs on the north and south sides of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to be somewhat different than anything that was there before. And the question would be whether that meets the guidelines or not.
And you guys have a sign permit that needs to be pulled with this, right? For any projects, correct?
Right, we could do it as part of this, but if that were the only factor that you guys had, I would say approval conditional on the sign permit.
Because we don't know exactly, because right now, there was, in this historic photo, you can't see it. This photo is from 1890, I believe. And
From 1888.
1888. There's another photo that's like around 1910, and it said Old Northern Hotel painted on the side of the building. And so for now, he's thinking about branding it as that, but since we don't 100% know who the commercial tenant is, like what the signage is gonna look like, today we're more or less asking for approval contingent upon the site or the signage going through that permit process to make for sure that we're in compliance.
How large do you envision the sign being?
So what's rendered in there is 6 by 6 on there. It was just plywood mounted onto that, and we had put Manistee Apartments, but again, right now we don't know what the official name is going to be yet. The owner is still working on.
And that's
the
going to
name.
have overhead indirect lighting then on those?
Correct. Yep, and everything is shining down. There's nothing that's protruding out or up. And those would be a gooseneck light fixture.
What's your pleasure?
On the, behind the parking area, you have a line of trees,
Yes.
and it's like a straight line of some sort of evergreen pine type. is that what you envision it's going to be, is pines, or a straight line of pine trees, or are you going to do some effort to make it look a little more friendly?
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to do a couple different variants of pine. The reason we wanted pine is just because it's right next to the residential neighborhood there, so they asked for the barrier there in the ordinance, so that's why we were looking at that. If obviously, you know, this time of year, if you have all conifer trees, they're gone, or deciduous, sorry. So we were looking at that as different conifer trees, so it's not the same, you know, Douglas fir, or, you know, whatever it is down the line, we would break that up along there.
I'm pleased with
Yeah.
what you're proposing.
Chair, I think,
That I've been looking at that building for 45 years, and, just waiting for somebody to come up with a great plan for it, and I'm tickled to death to see this, you know.
Yeah, well, it's, to me, it's hitting a couple of things. Number one, we have a need for housing in the community. That's a big thing. Plus, you're, you know, restoring a historical building that's really critical to our community. So I think that's, you're hitting it where it needs to be.
Yeah, we've done a handful of projects around the state with Kevin, the owner, and every time it's awesome the work that he wants to do, and we're always grateful to be a part of it all over the state here.
Now, you're proposing apartments on the first floor, right?
Correct. And I should be clear on that, it's the back half of the first floor. So the whole front half, the street side front, would be commercial, and then the back half of that, yes, if we flip to that, the back half there is all proposed to be the
And the
residential.
entrance to those would be from the rear.
Correct. Yep. And there's, how the lot is set up, there's basically parallel parking along the backside there. There was enough for the residents down there to have one parking spot. So the goal was, is like the backside's more or less residents parking there. And then the side would be staff and visitors for the commercial tenant. And there's additional street parking around there as well.
Chair, I think Mark had something to say.
Going back to the sign, you know, if it's removable, and it can come off, I mean, in regards to the permit, as long as it has, you know, as long as the permit, I think historically speaking for that, I think it would be fine.
From a planning point, I was more concerned about just the size, knowing what that size is gonna be, and if that's something that you were anticipating doing just a separate sign permit for, and you guys are comfortable with that.
Yeah, and
I
as
have
long
no
as,
issues.
obviously it's your guys' call on that, but the sign can definitely modify, you know, it wouldn't get any bigger than that, we just gonna put in schematically what we were envisioning, but again, until he knows who the tenant is and what his official name is gonna be for it. He is thinking Old Northern Hotel is what he was gonna call the building, just cause there was that cool painted image on the side, but, he hasn't formally come out with that yet, so.
And with that painted image, I mean, even though it wasn't technically a sign, but it would go in to the history of the building and what it used to look like, or somewhat to a certain degree, so I don't think it's that big of a.
So what do you think the best thing to do is just approve it as presented and have the company pull out a sign permit
I'm good with the sign
as is?
personally, but I'm.
There's another thing I wanted to touch on. I think we've all kind of talked about it, and I don't know what the feelings are as a group, but there was talk of possibly requesting a mural on the elevator or something to that effect. I don't know what everybody
that's-
feels, but I just wanted to bring that up because there was.
I forgot about that. We were looking at this, and I know this is just a rendering here, but it looks so plain. This could probably be a beautiful new looking building with that plain black structure on there. Thinking of ways you could make that more aesthetic, pleasing, a mural, I don't know, something that.
A mural would probably be the best way to handle that. Unfortunately, with the federal tax credit guidelines, there's not, like, I would love to have made that an all glass enclosure on that, and you can no longer do that. Per the guidelines, it has to be a similar material, even if it's a different color, but there's nothing that says we couldn't put a mural on that, so.
You know, that's one thing the community has looked at in the
Mhm.
last couple of years of places to put murals.
It would be a great spot, yeah.
Is that something you would consider, your company would
Yeah,
consider?
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'd have to review with the owner, obviously, but I'm sure he'd be open to that, because I think that'd be a great thing for that piece there.
I think it would be well received by the community.
It would be. I don't think that's anything that we could require.
No,
Just for your information, that's something that probably would sweeten the pot, you
yeah,
know?
Mm-hmm.
you know, something you might want to work with
Yeah.
the museum and Mark to find out what would be appropriate to kind of reflect our heritage and our community.
Okay.
And that would be, I think that would just help sell the community on the project.
Mm-hmm.
You have a rough idea of the timeline you're looking at for this with the approvals that you still have to gain?
So the hard part right now is we're waiting to hear back from the federal side on the tax credits, and they're working with the state on grants for this as well. So that could it'll definitely take through the winter here. The goal would be to start construction in the spring.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that would be the goal, and then it would probably be all year long, and it would probably open, next winter or spring 2023, somewhere about a year.
Unfortunately, all the people that you have to deal with are probably home with Omicron right now. Right now, we can take an action to approve. or
Chair, there's
disapprove
one more
the
thing.
Application for certificate of
Zach has one more.
Another thing that was discussed, that was just another one of the suggestions was the bar inside, and kind of more curiosity about if you guys had any plans with that. I haven't seen it myself. I think some of us have. Mark, you probably have.
Long time ago, yeah.
But from everything we've heard, it's just gorgeous, and I don't know if there's any intention of keeping it, reusing it, selling it, dumping it. Hopefully not. But it was just another question. I thought,
We would definitely try to reuse it. Again, since we don't know, for now, it would just be stored essentially in that first floor area there. If a restaurateur comes in and wants that first floor, they want to split it in half, he's pretty open to, there's about, I want to say it's like 2,500 square feet of commercial space that'll be down there. So it'd be perfect for a restaurant if somebody wanted that, or a market or anything, but all the above could incorporate it. And we'd love to keep that in some way, shape or form. Yeah, because it is a beautiful bar.
I'm all set, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're gonna decide, if it ends up it has to be trashed, let us know.
Yes, I'm sure he won't pitch it, because there's tons of people, I'm sure, that would happily take that off his hands if he didn't need it.
All right. We can approve or disapprove this application for the certificate of appropriateness.
I move to approve.
Yep,
Second.
second.
It's been moved to second.
Before your vote, I'd like to add, I think we should add an extension on there instead of just the 1 year. I think it'd be appropriate to give them 2, so that they don't have to come back after the year. We already, he's made it clear that, this is a huge project, it can't be done in a year. So I think just giving him 2 off the bat would be reasonable.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that, just maybe give us some wording for the justification. Is it just the scope of the project, working through the state and federal tax credits?
I think that would be fair, yeah.
I'll add that to my motion, that we approve it.
Yep.
And have the application be extended to 2 years because of the complexity and scope of the project, plus the fact that they're working through the state and federal tax credits, historic tax credits.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to
Did you get one?
approve the certificate of appropriateness for a 2-year period. Is there any more discussion? Let's have a roll call vote on this.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Ron Humboldt,
Yes,
Thad Taylor,
Yes.
Lee Trucks.
Yes.
And if you take back to the investor, just my thanks for him willing to invest in our community and take a building that is, it's unique and to this community and making it back to what it was. So really appreciate his interest in helping our community.
Yeah, thank you all. We appreciate it. And he was sorry he couldn't be here today either. He's going to be here tomorrow for the planning commission meeting, but was not. He was in Detroit and originally was going to make it, but with the weather, he's like, "There's no way I'm going to make it." So
Whatever we can do to assist the project, just let us know.
Just tagging on to Tad's comment, how did he find us? Do you have any knowledge of how he determined that building was the one he wanted to work on?
he's always looking for historic properties like that all over the state, and especially in lake towns, I guess we'll call them. We have a couple in Sheboygan right now that are similar to this. We don't see Michigan ever slowing down in the lakeside. And so he was looking through listings and found this one and couldn't believe that it's been empty as long as it has, and was excited that he could get a hold of it.
I like his vision. I think it suits that.
Well, there's been a number of people that have had vision for that building but did not have the capability to carry out the project, so
Yep.
that's what we're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Drive safe.
You going back tonight?
I'm here for the planning commission tomorrow, so
I'm
staying the night here. And I'll go back tomorrow.
If you're not in a hurry after the meeting, I'd like to have it, okay. Thank you.
okay, old business is permit review. Should all have a sheet.
So we've got the Excel sheet there, and then I've also got, there's a packet floating around, I don't know where it ended up. We're working through it. It's really tricky. There's, like I think I told you before, there's a monumental amount of them. Trying to tease those down, working with the software that, of course, got updated this week, so trying to get that to you guys, and then working off of the Excel sheet as well. Bill was nice enough to find an old one for us, so we'll kind of cross-reference from there. I think we're pretty close from between the three of these. The information's out there, it's just how we can tease it down. So,
Notice all the dates, or all these projects have expired except for the last two. And I know for the Gordon properties, I know we extended those to sometime in the latter part of '22. So,
Well, and I think with the Gordon and Rosemary buildings, I believe the city took them to court on that, and
There's a
the
court
judge
decision on that.
gave them an extension, and I can't remember.
It was till May of '22.
Okay, so-
yeah, something like
So they
that.
have court authority.
and then he came here following the court action, and we extended this project to coincide with the dates that the court had given.
I believe that's right, yeah.
I think it's something like, might have been June 30th of '22, could have been. I don't know what it was, but I know we did
It
extend it.
was right in the ballpark. It was somewhere around Labor Day, I think, yeah. I'm not 100% sure on the exact date.
And is the West Shore facade improvements, isn't that complete? Isn't that closed?
Like I said, it's going through and closing out these permits. Some are, there's permits from 2001 that have never been closed out. So I'm trying to tease through those. I'm down to 300 from over 900. So getting there. My goal is that when it gets there, it's going to be a whole lot smoother. There's not multiple lists for us to cross-check and everything.
As an alternative is just forget all those old permits that are way out there and use that Excel spreadsheet that your predecessor helped prepare, then update it with
The
actual
issue is
specs.
finding that document. We have the one you gave us now, and we'll work from that one, but I've never seen it until you brought it to me today. So,
Just trying to get you out of going through all those. old-
yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Well, he's got nothing but time.
Okay, public comments and communications concerning items not on the agenda.
Well, this is kind of the same thing that we've talked about before. Actually, this is for the public, I guess, not for us.
Right.
Let me defer.
Any correspondence?
None.
BDA Executive Director, not here. Museum Curator, not here. Museum Director,
You can probably take one of those off of there. Yeah, creative director, you know.
Do that in the future.
Yeah. I think they had that for Steve Harrell.
Yeah, you guys would both come.
I have nothing.
Planning and zoning administrator.
I got word today, this afternoon, on the Ironworks building. It's not in the HDC, but it is under your purview with the building. He's moving forward with construction starting on Monday. All the i's are dotted and t's crossed. As far as I know, there were no major facade things, but by all means, if we notice it, we notice it. So that's not to accuse anybody of anything by any means, but the construction is starting on the inside, and he said there's gonna be some repairs or something like that. So we'll keep an eye out, and should be starting on Monday.
It's good news.
Yes, very, very exciting, so.
Is that
Yeah.
construction for what?
So he's got a permit there. I believe it's a PUD or a special use permit of some sort. That didn't go through the HDC. That goes through the Planning Commission.
Okay. I was
Right.
curious what the.
Right. Yeah. No, it never came here. I want that to be clear, because I don't think there was any facade changes, but related, because that is something that the HDC has authority over, is that building. So if anything is noticed, please, let's, we'll.
What's it going to be used for?
I believe there's slated to be a marijuana grow operation on the upstairs, and then commercial space and office space below.
Okay, all right. I was just kind of curious.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on there.
Yeah.
Any news on the Spirit of the Woods project?
I don't have an application.
It's not in the district.
Correct.
It's not?
No.
No. The district ends at Division Street,
Oh,
so we don't have any say over that directly. And I don't think, there's nothing there that's a registered historic building that I know of.
Not that
Although
I've.
some of them are kind of historic.
Some of them are historic, and I asked Steve Harrell a while back about why that portion was not included in the 1981, 1982 designation of the downtown district as a historic district, and he said that the only building that was of any historic value was 289 River Street, which is the former O'Reilly's Big Tackle. He said other than that, none of the other buildings were of this deemed to be of historic nature. So I do agree with that to a certain degree in terms of, that really is the only building that is of historic nature. Very unique building, but it'd be shame to have it torn down, and there's something that we can really do about it. I would hope that with that project that they would at least let us see what they're going to be thinking about in terms of appearance for those buildings. So it might go a little ways as to maybe melding into the historic district. So it's not these great big modern buildings and then, you enter the historic district. I think that might look a little goofy, but I don't know how much influence we really have over that. But I think it would be in good keeping for them if they were to work with us to a certain degree as to maybe not so much. You know what I mean. I don't know how much influence we have, but it would be nice to at least have them come here to have us take a look at that if they'd be willing to do so. But that's my 2 cents.
Okay, member discussion? I have nothing.
I was gonna bring up the buildings at the end of the east end of River Street, but no, I just learned they're not in the district, so that goes away. But we also had that open question on those windows, and it keeps never making the agenda. I'm afraid it's just gonna get forgotten about it. Is that what we wanna have? Do we just wanna forget about it, or do we wanna pursue it?
This is a tricky one. I mean,
I'm okay with forgetting about it, but you brought it up.
it's entirely up to you guys. I don't have a badge. I don't go out and patrol the streets. I make a phone call the last time I talked to him, he was very receptive, said, yep, I was actually about to call Mark Fetter here this week and just to dial this in. And, you know, haven't heard much from him since. You know, I think I've left a couple voicemails here and there, but
Well, at this point, our only alternative would be to, I suppose, get the city council and the city attorney to attach a violation to that.
I'll work through that. If that's the direction I'm getting, I'll work through and see what avenues we have. From my angle, from me, there's not a whole lot I can personally do. So if you guys want me to expand my options and start seeing what we can do, by all means, I'll do it.
Just seems that, you know, we require people to come through this process, and those that do voluntarily or because they think they have to, we give them a certain amount of process to go through, and then someone just doesn't do it. And
Right.
you know,
Right.
is that fair?
Right.
Is the, you know, the windows look really, really cheap. Just think we ought to have some way to elevate this since it didn't go through the process.
Right. Yep, and I've had discussions with the city manager about after the fact permitting fines and things like that, and wading through that, there's just a lot of red tape. From my angle, that's probably the best option moving forward. As far as how we're going to handle this one, you know, I'm gonna have to ask some questions to a lot of different department heads and see what we can do.
Any more discussion? Move to adjourn. Thank you, gentlemen.